Well, hello, everybody. It is good to have you as a part of this quarter's PFP alum webinar. A couple of things as we get started. My name is Bill Kennard with Grandy and Associates. Again, it is great to have you here. I know we've got a couple of you who are here live. There's a number there, and then there's also another chunk that we know with these sessions watch the recordings. Now, a real quick note as we get started. If you haven't experienced it at your location, just to be aware, the Amazon Web Services has been having some major outages this morning, and that has been creating problems pretty much across the country. Throughout the morning, it's been getting a little bit better. So if anything happens that we happen to go down during this recording, and again, this is live. And so if we go down, we are recording it, and we will continue to go. So even if we go down, we'll continue to record it. We're doing that locally here, and we will send you the recording for that as soon as we wrap up. So today's topic is going to be rolling over your data to the next model year, preparing your copy of the labor pricing for profit software to 2022. Now, a couple of things. We've got some exciting announcements on this session as well, so we'll be giving you those as we jump in here. Just as with all the other programs that we've got going, if you got any questions as I'm walking through this, by all means, put in the chat box. Again, just list it in there. I've got a chat window here in front of me, and so we can, I can see any comments or questions that come through. So you can go ahead and plug those in there, and we'll be good to go. So with that, let's jump right in and start looking at how do we prep our model for 2022. One of the things that, and really a downside, if you will, that I see happen over and over again is companies will use the software and they'll just simply go in and edit their previous year, right? And in fact, I was working with a company just in the last couple of days where went in and they're kind of getting ready for 2022. And as we got in and started looking at it, they were still working off of 2019. Right. And they just kept editing 2019. Well, there are a couple of changes and there are things that we need to at least be aware of. And the software is designed to let you control each year individually. And so we're going to walk through that real quick. The process is actually pretty simple. There's just a couple of things that you need to look at and kind of jump into. So with that, we're going to start out with the existing copy of the version 6 of the labor pricing for profit software. And again, got an exciting announcement coming up here at the end, so hang in on that one. So what we're going to do is I'll walk through it here on the slides first, and then I'm actually going to jump into the software and actually just walk through it on my actual live copy as well. So you'll see it in both areas. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the third icon down here, right? It's modify company models and department maintenance, right? So we're going to get into that area of the software. Once we click into there, you will see this window pop up, right? You've been there before. Odds are you can see, again, all of your default employer taxes are in here, your individual models that you have. Now, depending on whether you've walked through this process in the past or not, you may have more than 1 year. For most of you may have just 1 year here, and that's all that's being shown. And again, whatever you have is where you want to stay. Now, with that, all we're going to do is simply click. You notice the icon right down here on the bottom right. We literally use this once a year, and it's activate the next model year. So as we jump in and do that, when I click on that, it's going to pop up and say, are you sure you want to roll over 2021 to 2022? Right? And you just simply say yes. And what it's going to do at that point is it will go ahead and now create a complete copy of your model for 2022. Now, it's doing a couple of different things in here. It's not just creating a duplicate copy. It's not doing the same thing. A number of you guys have, I'm going to back up 2 graphics here. You've used this copy model here where it creates a complete duplicate of everything you have. This doesn't do that. It just simply creates another year within the model that you currently have. And so as we do that, there are a couple of things that are updated. And there's things that you want to check and update in your model as well. And so as you get in there, a couple of those are the date ranges, the wages, and overhead costs. And so let's just walk into the software for a moment. And I want to take a look at some of the stuff that's in there and, kind of exactly how we're seeing that. So I'm going to flip over to the labor pricing for profit software. And again, you can see in my model here, a little bit small, I'm sure in the window here, but I'm on the standard business model for 2021. That's the model that we have in here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on company model and department maintenance. I'll click on that. Again, as I walk through, you can see in my case, I've actually got the individual icons here. I don't think I can, nope, can't blow that one up. I was trying to see if I could get a little bit bigger there for you. But you can see I've got my various years there. I've used it for a number of years with this particular company. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on activate the next model year down here in the bottom right, just as we had talked about. Again, there's my, the verification. Do you want to roll 2021 over to 2022? Yes, I do. And as soon as I do that, it'll take just a second. You can see it working. And now I have 2022 listed in my year list here. All right, so with 2022, it automatically, by default, will make that the active copy. And so again, if you remember in this version of the software, here it always shows what copy I'm looking at on the third line and the year. All right, so now I'm looking at the standard business model for 2022. So any changes that I want to make in here, I can do that right at this point. One of the things that you would need to do in this software is, I would recommend while you're still here, is right here is modify model. All right, so that's the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to go into modify model at the bottom, and that will bring up some of the defaults that we had. All right, so initially, again, you can see some of the some of the defaults for the hours that you've got. The important ones to look at is this area right here. What's changed as a result of, or in regard to your matching company taxes? So the big one that you'll see that's there, and I'll tell you this one right now, so jot it down. The limit for Social Security for 2022 has been increased. That for 2022 will be $147,000. Right. So Stacy, maybe if I can get you to just throw that Social Security limit in the chat box so we have a record of that. Again, it's $147,000 for 2022. It means as an employer, you have to pay the 6.2% company matching on the first $147,000 in wages for all employees. For 2021, that was I think it was $141,800 if I remember correctly. So we're going to update that one. All right, so 147, I need one more zero there, right? The other one so typically, again, if you look at these other ones in here, federal unemployment does not change. State unemployment, some of those do change, right? And most common is going to be the state unemployment rate. And so if your rate has changed, and again, that's unique to your company. That's not statewide or nationwide. That's unique to your individual company. What's your unemployment rate? You would update that right here. That will get, for this particular year, we'll get those numbers updated. Once we're good at that point, go ahead and click on accept in the bottom left corner, and your taxes are updated. Now, the question that I do get is, well, wait a minute, Bill, I just changed it there in modify method, but I still see the old rates up here, right? So at that point, you may want to update these. What this section is used for is every time you create a copy, that's where it pulls the data from right here. So I would go ahead and change those limits out here as well. So $147,000. I left the rest the same. And I'm going to click on Save Company. That's really the only place there's a save button anywhere in the software. So I'm going to save that one. Once I've done that, the model shell is all updated and ready to go. So from that point, I'm going to go ahead and close out the window here. Hit the red X, and those three items that I talked about that you want to review, right? The three were equipment date ranges, wages, and overhead costs. All right, so let's take a quick look at those three. The first one, so I'm going to go into cost input. All three of the checks that you're going to make are in there. So the first one is your equipment date ranges. Now, as I come in here, one of the things, well, and I'm going to double check real quick because I see here when I made that last save, it changed back to 2018. Make sure you're on 2022. All right, so let me just go back there and get on the correct year. So Magoo's for 2022. All right, and it's important that you do that because here you notice the difference here. Now there's several pieces of equipment that I have that if you notice the annual amounts are zeros and some of the excess here came out. Right? You go, well, why did that happen? Well, here's the reason why it happened is, again, in the software tool, we treat your equipment as an asset. And we said, for example, if I look at this second item here, right, the truck number 21, it's a 2017 box van. We're going to put money aside. And we thought back when we created this in 2017, when we entered that truck, or 2016, it looks like, we said that we thought we could get 3 more years out of that piece of equipment. So the software actually put money aside for this truck in 2016, 2017, and 2018, those 3 years. And by that point, we're making the assumption that you've got this fund of money, that you are actually doing that in your particular company. Now, and then at that point, after 3 years, we should have 100% of the money to replace that particular truck. We actually take that out of the mix then, and the rest of that becomes profit. Now, this is where you need to update this information. And really in version 6, that's a 2-step process to do that. So the first thing, let's say, yeah, but Bill, I just never got to it. I never started putting money aside. I still got the truck. I'm still limping this bad boy along. And so we got to, somehow make this thing, how do we start over from here, if you will? Well, you could literally delete it and put a new one in. The other thing that you can do is I'm going to go in and modify that truck. So the first thing we need to do is I'm going to click on that one. Now you'll notice if I modify that, it's zeroed out all my percentages because again, it's not putting any money aside for anything. And so the first thing I need to do is I'm going to change this year to start. I'm going to change it to this year only because again, I really didn't put money aside for this thing when I should have. And so I'm going to start that process over. We're going to start all over again in 2022. Remember, the model you're working on now is 2022. So we're going to start this in 2022. I'm going to change the year to start to that. From there, I need to allocate this thing. Now, for a simple state, you can go through and actually allocate where does this truck spend its time, but know that this is a 2-step process, like I said. So the first thing you need to do here, you can just put 100% in any department because it's ultimately, keep in mind, it's not going to save it. We just need to be able to accept this number, right? So I'm just going to put all of it in service and I'm going to go ahead and accept that. So what that does is you'll notice it now updated the year. The truck is now available. We have the first X, but it's not selected, right? And so we still don't have, we've got one more step in the update here. So I'm going to click right there in that column where the X should be. All right, so when I click there, it's going to open up this window and say, okay, I need you to confirm again, really, where does this vehicle spend its time? Well, for me, this particular truck was 50% in service, and we were 50% in installation. All right, those 2 areas. And now I can go ahead and accept it. And when I do that, you're going to notice that, again, now I have the 2 X's. This particular piece of equipment is listed in my asset list. I'm putting money aside for it. It's factored into all of the calculations, and we updated that. So again, a little bit tough to see there. If I move off of that item again, we're now putting money aside for 3 years from 2022 to 2024. So $5,000 per year. So we come up with $15,000 per year at the end of our time frame. So that will happen again. If that's the first thing to double check is this equipment list number 1 current? Right. And you may say, well, okay, yeah, but this bottom truck here, that transit, we got rid of that one. We don't have that anymore. So you can just pull that off the list, highlight it and delete it. And that will go ahead and take it off the list altogether. Right. I'd simply hit delete, pull it off the list, and then add on any new vehicles that you have in there. For any that you don't have 2 X's, right, you got to have both X's in both columns. That particular piece of equipment is now there. If it's not, just go ahead and make those couple of updates. So first step, go into it, modify the truck, change the year to start, throw in any percentage, just allocate the vehicles. And then the second step is you have to click here under the accepted where the X should be, and then tell it where does this truck spend its time a second time for it to actually put it back into the mix of your assets. So that's the first thing to update. And that goes fairly quick. All right, so I'm going to look at that for each one of my individual trucks. Second thing that I would update is under labor. Go through, chances are you're giving increases. And remember, the time to build in the increase into your model is before you give them out to the field, because we need to start having this money come in so we can pay our team. And so what you want to do is as early as possible, come in here under labor and modify each one of the individuals with whatever anticipated increase you plan on giving them. Right? Even if you're not sure, get something in there now. We want to start, update our pricing, because if you don't, if you're going to give increases, the only place you have to get it from is from your customer. It's got to be in your pricing. And if you don't increase your hourly rate, that means it's coming from your profits. And so we want to go into each individual, and I'm going to simply go into the individual itself, modify them, and we're going to change. We're going to give Jared here is going to go to $12 an hour and accept him. Now, the only other thing that you would double check is if, over time, people, as they grow, they can move into various departments. So maybe Jared here at this point, whereas originally he was 60% installation, 40% replacement, maybe that shifted a little bit now. So if you need to update your allocation percentages, do that here as well. Okay, and get those puzzle pieces in place. Right. Once you've verified your people there, they're pretty much set and ready to go. The last item you want to look at is your overhead expenses. Things are changing. Costs continue to go up. Right. I mean, we're all seeing that throughout this year. And so I'm going to go into my fixed overhead costs and just look at the individual items that are in there and how much are we spending on them. Right. So maybe on this one here, we originally had $344 a month for a grand total of $4,100 a year. We're finding that that's actually gone up somewhat. And so, maybe now we're spending $500 a month on that particular item, right? So make those couple of updates. Just go down your profit and loss statement. Right? And as you go through to your profit and loss statement, just go into each of these items, verify, is this dollar amount still accurate? And again, I did this with a company yesterday. Excuse me. Did this with a company yesterday, and literally to do the entire model, it took us about 45 minutes. We were done with all of it. And our model for 2022 was ready to go. And that, quite frankly, included adding new employees that they're looking at bringing on board right now. We ran a couple of what-if scenarios. And so, again, it goes fairly quick, again, depending on how you've got your data put in here. So go through each one, make sure that those are current, they're up to date and ready to go. And once you've done that, your model is now pretty much set. Right? Now you can go back down to reports, just like we've done in the past. We can go to the net profit analysis report, crunch that data, right? And we should see at that point, if we're not changing anything, what are our current projections? What's our anticipated net income before taxes, right? And we're ready to go. Right now, again, you can change. Remember, modify the method, change the pricing here as you need to get your profitability in each department where you want or need it to be. Right. In this particular case, in my service department, I'm shooting for a desired net profit of 20%. Right. At 20% with the added cost, I need to increase my rate from whatever it was to $126.51 to hit that 20% net profit. In my case, I'm probably going to go to 128, 129, somewhere in that range. So that's really all there is to rolling your data over. It goes fairly quick, goes fairly easy. Right. And now you're ready to go for next year. Right. Your job pricing calculators, all those things are now up to date. So any questions at this point? Right. Again, I'm seeing the chat box and it's fairly quiet except for the stuff that Stacy's putting in there. So are there any questions, go ahead and put them in there. I can address those right away at this point in time before I kind of change gears just a little bit here. And at this moment, looking quiet, again, go ahead and put them in if you have them. So that's our version, rolling data over into over to the next model year. The process goes fairly easy. Now, one of the things that we've done, again, just to walk you through that is remember the PFP alum page, right? So Stacy will throw that link out there again, grandyassociates.com/PFP alum. I've gone through and I actually have a recording of that same process out there. Activate the next model year. You'll find that down toward the bottom of that list look for this specific graphic is what you're looking for, right? So that's one of the next items that's there. But this now brings us to the exciting part. We have been working for years, talked to a number of you about developing and moving over to a cloud-based platform. Well, we are finally happy to say it's here. The cloud base is ready to go. This tool, labor pricing for profit, is now becoming planning for profit. So our planning for profit pricing tool is now available online. And let me just give you a little bit of the background. That version 6 of the labor pricing for profit software was released back in 2008. That's been here for 13 years now. Now we've had some updates and little tweaks to it, and that in itself created some issues, right? But it's been out there for a long time. It works extremely well. It's been one of the leading industry tools for establishing our pricing really for a long time. And quite frankly, it was available at our workshops. That's where it was on the flash drive that we provided to you. For some of you who've been to workshops a long time ago, it was on the CDs, right? It was there. One of the challenges, though, is that version of software only worked on PC, Windows-based PC devices. That was it. If you had anything other than that, it wouldn't work. And so that in itself was a limitation, and more contractors they're starting to use Macs. Of course, they're using tablets every day of the week. It wasn't usable on any of that stuff. One of the other issues is every computer. Now we gave you, with the license for the tool, you had access or the ability to load it on as many computers in your company as you want, but every one of those was an independent installation. In other words, if you made changes on yours, nobody else saw that, and you had to go back and update every other machine manually. The software updates, when we brought in new software features into the software, that was always manual. And again, even though every time we did it, we provided those updates for free, and it was posted on our website, still today, it's very common that we'll connect with a contractor who has got a couple of questions on it, and we'll go in and look, and they're running an outdated version of the software. And so all the updates, it fell on you to make that happen and keep it current, right? That became more and more difficult, and changes since the computers weren't connected. We could, if you made a change, nobody else saw it within your organization, right? And so again, we are thrilled to say the Planning for Profit cloud-based tool is here. This now gives you the ability for the same low price, right? So you pay just once, you still have access to it on every device in your company. Right. So now it becomes, it's not only Windows-based machines, it's on Macs, on iPads, on any kind of tablet. Heck, you can run it on your smartphone if you want to. And so you have the ability to start using it on a regular basis, and it works across the board. Updates are now automatic. In fact, as we either find something that's not working quite right and we make a repair, or we add a new feature, all that becomes instantly available to every machine on your platform, because again, we're now controlling that side of it. One of the other major challenges that kind of fell into this piece of the puzzle is Microsoft keeps changing the Windows platform. And every time they update it, it now starts to create issues with all the software programs that are actually running on the Windows platform. And so that starts to become an issue. They're getting ready to roll out Windows 11. In fact, they're already rolling it out. Right, I ordered 2 computers earlier this week. Those 2 computers are coming with Windows 11 on it, and so again, so that's starting to create some issues. We'll start to see some of that. Again, we haven't gotten the machines yet, so I haven't been able to test it on them. But we're going to start to see that more and more as the manufacturers make some of those changes. The other thing that's really nice, not only are the updates automatic, the pricing and parameter changes that you make affect every user on the system, just like that, right? So for example, if you go in and update the pricing, remember one of the major tools here is that job pricing calculator. So I can go out and use this in the field. You can set up your individual team members, your comfort consultants, your sales service techs with a login for sales. The only thing they have access to is the job pricing calculator. In fact, on the new tool, they don't even know anything else is available. Right. And so as soon as you make a change in the office to some of your overhead expenses and update the pricing, every device that's logging in has the new pricing available to it. Right. You make a change in the office, save it. It now applies to every single user in the field instantly. Right. So that happens automatically. Excuse me. We've also we've added some new features to it already. One of the most requested in there was materials. markup versus margin. Of course, the old software version 6 had markup only. And so again, more and more contractors, the correct way to do it is using margin that gives you a true profit that you're targeting. And so at this point, you can now simply choose, I want a 35% gross margin, and it will price all of your materials and subcontractors accordingly in that way. So that's already been added. There's a number of new features that are in there. And over the next 3 months, you're going to see several more that will start to pop in. And so you'll see those things coming up. One of the other things is very, very quickly here, we're going to have a dashboard in there, so you'll be able to log in and get at a glance some of the performance of your company itself. We'll also be able to tell you, hey, here's how you compare to other contractors in the industry. Right. So again, as we start getting more users on this tool, we'll now be able to say, okay, you're spending 4% on advertising. The typical company on the tool is spending 7%, right? It'll give you some of those comparisons so you can see how you compare to other companies. So with that, I want to give you a real quick tour through the tool itself and just show you how it looks. Now, the nice thing is, right, I know we had, if memory serves me, I think, Stacy, you said Nomar was out there in the list, right? So Nomar actually had a sneak peek of this already. So he's seen it. The tool is there and it's ready to go. So I'm simply going to log into my account on this tool. And so again, you create that up. You can have as many users in here as you want. As a subscriber, you control who has access to it. You set each person up with their own login, and you control what they have access to in the software. So this is where the dashboard is going to be. That'll be popping in fairly quickly. You will notice, right, if you were comfortable using the desktop version, this is going to feel pretty comfortable, right? So for example, when I go into setup, right, that's where we spent all of our time before. I'm simply going to go into setup here. You'll notice we've got users, right? New company setup wizard is in there. Cost input. When I go into cost input, you will see all of the same items: equipment, labor, fixed and variable overhead, materials, subcontractors, other income. It should look and feel very familiar. At that point, your equipment list starts populating here on the screen itself. In fact, I asked them to make a couple of changes. We talk about these global changes that happen that update you immediately. I see there's a change that I asked for on this particular page, and that rolled in this morning. So I can already see that is live for every user out on the system itself. So again, all of our trucks, all that entry is there just like it was before. If I want to edit a particular item, we've got the actions column over here. With the actions, I can click on one of those icons. Whoop, not sure what we lost there. Click on that and I can either edit this thing, I can delete it, or I can copy it, make it a duplicate copy. If I want to edit it, right, I'm going to see the particular screen here. Again, all the same things that we were entering in before are all showing up right here in this model as well. So that's one of the nice pluses that are here. In fact, so I can make these changes and just simply make the updates that we have or need here. Labor, pretty much the same thing. Again, we see all of the labor that our team members that pop up on the list, right? And I can put those in. Again, they also have, again, the actions icons over here on the right will always let me get in and modify that particular piece of equipment. All the others set pretty much the same way. Reports. So again, one of the things that we've done is, again, we have all the same reports out here, kind of a similar layout, right? So again, I've got my 3 departments. What's highlighted at the top is what's shown at the bottom, just like it was before. But one of the things that you will notice is we've added a new category here, and that's jobs. The reason why we added the jobs section is we've now grouped together the job pricing calculator and the job hours tracking report. And very shortly, those two will be tied together. So whereas today, when I use the job pricing calculator, it's just like it is. We replicated what we had on the current software, where you can use the calculator and it doesn't save anything. Very quickly, you will be able to actually save that job, right? So I used the job pricing calculator. I priced out the job. When I'm done with that, I'll be able to save it right here in the tool. And then I'll be able to go into the job hours tracking report, keep track of the hours that we actually used on the job, and it will tell me at the end of that job what my actual profit is. In other words, it'll do some like job costing for us, automatically tied in here to tell me if I've made money or not. You will see that one coming up very, very quickly. So we've grouped that together under jobs. We also have the calculators, and then we've got the tracking reports for your billable hours in there as well. Now, one of the things that I do want to mention is that if you're new to the software, you're using the old one, right? One of the hesitations is, yeah, but Bill, it took me so long to enter all of my data into the old software. I really don't want to go through that again. Well, the first time you log into the software tool, you will have an option right here to import your data. And you can click on that and you simply go out to your computer, find the MDB file. We tell you specifically where to go look for it. Click on that and it will import all of the data from your desktop version into the cloud-based version. So you don't have to rekey anything. You start from there. Now, that import process, depending on your company, it's an automatic process. Sometimes it's as quick as 4 or 5 minutes. Other times, depending on the complexity and what you've got set up in your company, it might take as many as 30 minutes. As soon as it's done, it sends you an email saying, hey, you're good to go. Your copy is in there and ready for you. So that's another feature that we built into this tool as well. So again, any questions on this new tool as we continue to move forward here? All right. So again, we're really excited about that piece of the puzzle, that tool. It's in place. It's ready to go as of really, we've been using it. We've now done, I think, 4 planning for profit workshops using this software, and it's worked out extremely well. You can get that software tool simply by going to grandyassociates.com/LP. If you want, while it's on the screen, you can just scan the QR code. It'll take you to the same place. And when you get there, you just click on subscribe now and jot this one down, right? There's a promo code that we set up. The promo code is upgrade. So if you use promo code upgrade during the checkout process when you're subscribing to this, you will get 6 months at 50% off. That's an offer that we're giving to anybody who's had the software previously, so you can jump in and start using the new version right away. So again, promo code upgrade during the checkout process. Standard pricing on the tool itself is $49 a month. Again, and that will, again, the nice part is it's backed up every single night. If there's an issue, we've got it covered. Our tech support team is here to help if you have any questions on it, but it's already there. So again, 50% off for the first 6 months using the promo code upgrade. Also, one other thing that I want to just highlight one more time, excuse me, is again, that PFP alum page we've now updated. So again, we've got the webinar dates and links all set for 2022. And so you can go out there, you can again register for any one of these programs. If you missed one throughout 2021, you're welcome to register for any of the programs in 2022, or maybe you caught it and you want to send somebody else to the new one. All right, use these boxes here. And even if you're not sure if you're going to be able to make these, I mean, heck, we're talking about next December, for crying out loud, right? Go ahead and register for them right now. At that point, what's going to happen is even if you can't make it, we're going to do just like we did on this one. We'll record it. We will send you a link to that recording after the session is completed. And so you'll have that one there. It's in place. Again, that's at grandyassociates.com/PFP alum. Hey, there's one more thing that I did just want to bring up. And that's that if you remember on this page, we have all the links down this right-hand side of this page. It's not shown here, which is all the tutorials for the version 6 software. And the question has already come up, well, what about, are you going to update all of those for the new cloud-based software? You know what? We've already done that. And we've actually made it easier to get to. And that's again, if I go into really any screen on the software tool, as I go into those individual screens, one of the things you will notice is right up here in the corner, we've got our little expert icon. Anytime you click on that icon, it will play the tutorial for this specific page. Right, so as you change the page, click on the expert icon, it'll automatically play the update for that page. right? And so all the tutorials are already built in right into the software tool itself. So again, you'll see that simply by clicking on the expert icon here. You don't have to go to a separate page like we did with version 6, right? So we've got that already updated and in there. So a little bit shorter session this time around. Kind of brings us to our end. I want to just open it up one more time. If there's any questions on anything that I've covered in terms of rolling your company over, your data over to 2022 and being ready for that. I will say, right, so as you guys might be typing things in, I will say this is, again, 2021 was a bit of a challenging year again. You know, we saw that 2020 with the whole pandemic was, again, that was challenging. But for many of you, quite honestly, it was your biggest year yet. And so, you know, so many things were, will be kind of, you know, it's just such a challenge, right? Moving through that one. Well, 2021, quite frankly, a lot of that stuff is still there, but price increases and equipment availability is still a major challenge, right? I mean, so many of our equipment manufacturers have announced, you know, multiple 10% price increases. And that's if you can get the equipment. And so, yeah, again, it's important to make sure that your numbers, that your pricing is in line to make sure that that you're not going to fall short, even as a result of more business that's there. So one of the questions that came in direct to Stacy was, will the desktop version be supported in for the future? Technical support on that. And the question is absolutely yes. All right. So again, if you still have questions on the old software and you want to stick with that, again, so eventually what's going to happen is it will stop working. I mean, eventually Microsoft will make some changes to the Windows operating system that will wind up conflicting. And so on one computer, it may stop working for you. And that we can't deal with, right? Because again, there's not development dollars that are being put into that software. At that point, you will need to upgrade to the cloud-based version. But as long as it's working and functioning, we are absolutely here to help you work on that software and continue to use it. So without a doubt, we will be there to help. And again, if you have questions on it, let us know. Right within minutes, we can link up to you and be looking at your particular screen and see how see exactly what's going on with that one. So any other questions that might come up, by all means, let us know. But walk through the process. Do this. Get your model ready for 2022. Make sure that your pricing is in line. And again, to upgrade to the new software, grandyassociates.com/LP is where you'll find that information. And not seeing any other questions, we're going to go ahead and bring this to a close, but I want to do so wishing you and your family a very happy and blessed Christmas season and a happy new year to each of you. Stay safe. God bless you. Take care.